Welcome back to the 2021 Magic City Mega Bowl Round 1 coverage. We are still at Clay Disc Golf Course, and we have a sponsor-loaded feature card.
Indeed. I am James Hopkins, and this is Jared Neal. Here's our feature card. We're going to be starting on hole 11, since we did the front 10 in the first video. If you haven't watched that, go back and watch it. You will not regret that. Here's our card here. Michael Johansen with the -6. This is hole 11. It's a par 3, 424 feet through a tunnel in the woods. We're up on top of a ridge. Go down through here, about 400 feet, and then you want to finish to the left. This is a good pro par 3.
Come close to this in practice.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't tell exactly what MJ was calling for. I know he had a little flip up on his drive there, but dead straight right down the tunnel.
Yeah, he's going to be about 40 feet for his birdie.
Oh, come on.
It is slightly uphill off the tee.
You're still dealing with a lot of those rocks in the fairway, so you still want to actually air out your shot a little bit more than putting it on the ground early.
Really what you want to avoid doing is missing this gap, because if you miss this gap slightly and hit early, the rough here is pretty rough.
So far it looks
hard
like
to scramble out of.
Oh yeah, definitely. So far it looks like Silas put it to circle 2, and if I'm not mistaken, it looked like he had a mid-range in his hand.
That dollar's going slightly early. He's going to find some of that rough. He's going to have a couple gaps here for option. He does connect to another tree. He's probably 110, 120 feet away here.
Well, you put that one close enough, I think he's got the putt on the next shot.
It does drop off a little to the left for the basket. Rollaways are possible over there, but you have to have some momentum to go down in there.
So the pin they're playing now is actually the middle position. You can see off to the right of Scott, that was the short pin that the amateur divisions are going to play. This one is the middle position because there's actually a longer position that's, what, about 80 more feet or 100 more feet straight back in the
104
woods?
feet. It does play as a par 4, however. A little more technical on the second shot.
Not enough.
And he probably wishes he had a little bit more of a bit at that.
Yeah, I
It
think
is
he was
birdie.
playing kind of a safe-ish type putt at it. Like I said, it does slope down behind the basket. And with the way some of the previous holes have been playing, if you do catch, you can't roll.
No, it's doable, but it's kind of out of my range.
Big clear the water energy. Big new disc energy?
So whether you just chucked your favorite disc in the water or looking for a little wisdom on what needs to be the next staple in your bag, head on over to Dynamic Discs Iron City for your one-stop shop for all of your disc golf needs.
Big Dynamic Discs Iron City energy.
Alright, here we have hole 12. As you can see, this is quite some elevation change here. The tee to basket, it does go slightly uphill. However, you can see that it's very sloped and drops off way down to the left. A lot of pros are going to opt to throw the forehand here, simply because it is pretty far left. And there's a Johansen finds that access road down there, which right next to that access road, there is some barbed wire, as we've seen on previous holes. We're going for the turnover shot here.
So I agree with what you said, James. A lot of players you do see this forehand shot. So Silas is lining up that forehand shot, just mainly because like as you fade, you're going uphill. So you'd think it would create more of a backstop. Whereas a turnover shot, if you don't get that angle just right, you are actually going to be fading down and keep on fading downhill. So I'm a little surprised to actually only see one forehand shot out of
there's
the
the reaction. We were thinking for the backhand. However, it didn't quite come in on the flat angle. It didn't match the hill. So therefore it did ricochet down a little bit. He's got a very tricky upshot here.
Yeah, and this is actually pretty common for things hitting rocks or hitting trees. Wow, Dollar almost made that one. That was a good bid.
Incredible bid there.
See, MJ's just having to pitch up from that service road, that little access road down there.
Yeah,
It is
there's
a
some
tricky
guardian
shot.
trees. There's some guardian trees that really prevent you from coming back up if you don't have the right gap.
Looks like just a little high on the elevation putt for Scott. Looks like Silas is the only one that's going to give us the birdie on the hole.
Very fantastic putt there. Trying to close the gap on Johansen there.
Yeah, Silas and MJ are definitely playing pretty solid so far. You can see Dollar just letting out a little bit of that frustration on that little easy putt. He just wants to finish off the hole after that roll on his drive.
It just shows if you're not executing technical shots out here, you're not going to quite get the score that you probably set out to.
And that's a good point. You know, the last hole is only 350 feet. This next hole is 322 feet. This hole 13, it is another par 3. This is actually playing to, is this a new position or just a not so common position?
Well, this isn't a new position. It's just the longer position. I think the year previous we played the shorter position, which was up on top of the hill. We have that. There's a tree up there right on top of the hill. You can see that it's bent over, which that probably won't be there next year since we had some storms that came through that kind of pushed a lot of the trees over.
Yeah, the backhand shot is actually the preferred route on this hole. You could see MJ was going towards that bent over tree that you were talking about. If you go just to the right side of that leaning tree, it kind of goalposts and you can let your disc kind of naturally fade over to the left, and it seems like it runs more at the pin. That looks like just a unfortunate early release from Scott there. So Dollar actually looks like he cut it off a little early. So that's kind of the deceptive thing about this hole, is that actually a straighter shot with a natural fade off is more beneficial than actually trying to throw the baby hyzer the whole way.
I believe that on this hole that the tee pad placement is slightly to the left of what you think it should be. I think that was a design purpose just to make it to where it's more of a hyzer flip up shot instead of a flat shot to fade out. Woo! It almost jumped up in there.
Wow, wouldn't have that been a shot?
That would have been an incredible birdie there.
That's actually an incredible scramble from right there. To be able to throw the kind of tight cut forehand roller shot down the elevation and then allow it just to curl back towards the basket. The pop up into the bucket would have just been the cherry on top of the ice.
No, you get some.
Oh, wow.
Silas with a little roll away there.
So that also shows you can go too far on this hole. We saw that barbed wire fence again.
Mm-hmm.
All of the barbed wire fencing on this entire course, anything over that barbed wire fencing is out of bounds.
Scott giving another really good bid too. There's another roll.
Oh, wow, and there's that roll again.
He is going to be safe. He might actually be able to get some relief from that fence since there is a 2-meter roll there.
I just saw 2 rollaways. I'm good.
That's right. We mentioned it in the first part of round 1.
Johansen opting for the layup there.
Yeah, but probably a pretty smart shot. After seeing those rollaways from the other guys, probably got a little nervy on them. And there's another little roll. Luckily, that sat down pretty early.
Yeah, these sloped greens, you really have to be careful for, if you're doing a layup, you really have to match the angle of the hill.
Silas about 1 inch low on that putt. You could tell he really, really wanted that one. That would have been a great par save. Well, that's the thing about this hole. For as short as it is, the green plays extremely tricky. So MJ walking off with just the par 3 and the dollar saving it up that great scramble shot. The other two guys didn't look like they played it too out of routine. They just got the bad luck on
Scott with that early tree hit ends up getting the roll and kind of getting a double whammy there, taking the double bogey. Here we have hole 14. This is a very interesting hole here. You go straight up this tunnel. It's very uphill, and that is not the basket we're playing to. It goes way off to the left. It's only 306. However, it plays a lot longer than that. The camera never really gives enough justice to how much uphill this is.
Right.
And
Dynamic Disc coming out with those great basket covers. Really been able to utilize it for some of these unused amateur baskets.
They really are professional looking, that's for sure.
Yeah. And honestly, Johansen had a very good tee shot. It's deceptive because, like you mentioned, it's a lot more uphill than it looks. Dollar actually having a really good shot too. A straight shot up the gut is usually more beneficial than trying to tail it off left and get closer to the basket.
Yeah, some people do opt to try to cut through the woods there to get over to the basket. However, it has grown up over the years.
Yeah, and you can tell all these drives are still landing circle 2 or even just edge of circle 2 on the backside.
Oh, no. Getting a roll into the rough there. That'll still be a pretty easy 3 opportunity for Scott.
MJ giving it a conservative run. Right on that green line behind the baskets where it really starts to slope pretty hard.
These were well executed tee shots, and they're still in the deep part of circle 2. Scott's trying to give this a run here.
Ooh, looks like he just got caught up right before he could break through the edge of the woods there.
Silas with a really, really good opportunity here.
Oh, it looks like it's sat. If you go too much further past that log right there, it definitely will start rolling down that hill. And that's a great comeback putt. He was able to give it a bid and then just hit the comebacker. Not too much penalized on that. It's a great cleanup job for Scott. MJ just cleaning up really nice, and Dollar, after hitting the cage, just dropped right there. Gonna walk off with his par. Didn't really see too much change on this hole. For being a par 3, the 2 is actually a pretty rare sight.
Yeah, it's definitely a bonus birdie for sure.
Dynamic Discs Iron City, home of Alabama's largest selection in disc golf. Although they have dynamic discs in their name, they've got every manufacturer you'll need for your game. So whether you're looking for new or used discs and all of your disc golf accessories, head on over to Dynamic Discs Iron City.
Alright, here we have hole 15. It is 263 feet, and you can see that you do not want to go left on this hole. It drastically drops off and continues to drop off. And you can see that the mounds on this green, the rollaway is definitely a possibility here. A very technical shot that needs to land
Ooh, that needs to
with
sit
the
down.
hill.
Let me tell you from personal experience, you definitely do not want to be left. I hit a pretty early tree and skyrocketed to the left and then rolled down the hill. It took me 2 pretty solid shots just to get back up the basket and get my bogey. Silas with the laser beam.
Oh no!
Oh,
Hey, man, that log in the fairway really got in there. Launched him way left.
so it's kind of reminiscent of the shot I was just talking about that I threw. Hit that log and just took off. Scott is giving it just a little bit more height. It looks like that's gonna it's gonna take a run at the basket.
That was almost in the basket for sure. He's going to have probably 45, 50 feet coming back at it. However,
Yeah, I definitely was thinking it was gonna land a lot softer than that.
that's a great layup from Matt.
Yeah, a 3 on this hole. If you don't get your initial drive right by the bucket, a 3 on this hole is just fine. It's a great shot.
That was Johansen coming from the left down in there.
That was true. He was very fortunate to go
Yeah.
further down the hill. And this one's a little bit more unique than some of the other holes we've already seen on this course, just because there's such a gully on the first part, the first carry of the tee shot. Looks like they found Scott's disc, and that tree's close enough. It should be pretty routine.
Yeah, that's going to be about 10 feet. No, I can easily tap that in for a par.
That's the other thing. Walking on a couple of these greens right here, you actually got to watch your own footing just walking up and down the
Yeah,
elevation.
those rocks can get very slippery, especially even going from this basket down to the next tee. It's very steep.
So here we have hole 16, another par 3, 364 feet. This is going back down the backside of the mountain. You start off at very high elevation. You pitch down to this open space, and then you want to turn right into this little cutout in the woods. The only thing you're not really super aware of is closer to the right than you think is actually that barbed wire fence again. And again, any barbed wire fences, anything over that is going to be out of bounds.
That's actually a really good placement there for Johansen. He's going to be circle's edge. Very fortunate to punch through those few trees there.
So it looks like Dollar just turned it over just a little too much. That's the one thing that if you're going to hit a tree, it's very fortunate that if your disc is turning over too much to catch a tree, because you will find that barbed wire fence to the right. It doesn't take too much on that front side of the woods gap to actually find that fence.
Scott opted for the thumber play. Oh
Look
my
at that.
gosh. Sit for him.
He's going to have a putt, but it's probably going to be just a little obstructed. There is one skinnier tree right in the back line of the basket. Looks like that one caught in the woods.
There are a few gaps in those trees. They are smaller gaps, however.
It's definitely extremely beneficial in this hole to feed it full now.
Yeah, he's that last tree.
Like you mentioned, there's not a lot of open windows on the side woods. They do exist there, but they're not super clean looks. You may just have to. Oh, that's a great birdie putt from Scott.
Too good of a deal. I can't turn that
I was gonna be really upset.
Just weaving himself between those two trees there.
Yeah.
Didn't get
Great bird.
the bird.
I was saying about the side woods, there's not a lot of windows, but you may actually find just like a lighter punch spot to go
Yeah,
through.
absolutely.
Maybe it's just leafy versus having a tree branch there.
No, it was just
And that's also
it was just
another great birdie from MJ.
started that down the middle would have been good. It's one of those ones I parked the crap out of it in practice. Wow. So you're like,
So here we have hole 17. We got another par 3. Looks like they're doing a little bit of course maintenance during the drone flight. 280 feet. The arrow you see on that tree is not a mandatory arrow. It's just showing you the direction you need to go for the basket. So as you punch it through that mouth, you are going to fade over to the right. Looks like MJ is opting for the backhand turnover.
There are a few different options for this hole. The backhand turnover,
No, that's just a tree telling you where the basket is.
you do need to turn it over a little bit more than that one, however. And this is somewhat of a different play than you'll see from almost anyone else.
It's definitely an atypical play, but it worked out really well.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of high forehands on this hole as well. Here's one from Silas.
Really curious to see where Dollars
He's going to
ended
go with
up.
the low forehand.
Looks like the low forehand, yeah. I don't know if you can notice there's some flags on the left-hand side. Right over the ridge line that starts the pines on the left-hand side is actually all out of bounds.
I don't think there was actually OB on this hole.
Actually, I stand corrected. It's just somewhere you don't want to be.
Yeah, you don't want to be over there. There's those pine trees are recently have gotten that tall. They didn't actually used to be there when the course got put in. So it made the forehand shot a lot easier. It's a lot more technical now.
Yeah. Looked like it took Dollar 2 throws just to get out of there.
Mm-hmm. And there is barbed wire on the far right as well. There's another property line over there.
That's right. Most of these ending holes are going to be skirting that barbed wire to the right-hand side of the hole.
Yeah, you had to do something very spectacular to get all the way over there, though. There's a lot of trees in between the fairway and that barbed wire over there.
That's true. Looks like Scott cleaning up that great drive. Atypical drive, but a very positive result. Saw MJ just taking an extra second just to wipe off his disc. Do want to remind viewers that this is Alabama summer. We are talking about high humidity. We're talking about high heat. So anytime you feel a little bit of that sweat, take the extra time, wipe off your hand. That was a really good example of that. And capitalize on that play.
All right, here we have hole 18. This is 366 feet. The dump truck is actually not there during play. There is a mandatory right there on the left tree. You have to navigate to the right of that, and then end up down here on this daunting green that's the pin that's on this mound.
So this tee shot is extra tricky too, because not only do you have to make that mandatory, but you also have to worry about not going too straight or right off the tee pad, or having it as it pans around to the left, not having it pan too wide, because we actually have the barbed wire fence that starts to surround the end of the green here.
Johansen looked like he liked that shot. Silas throwing a really good shot. Look at that coming in. Ooh, almost hits the pin.
That was a fantastic shot from Silas.
Very technical.
Showing everybody that all you need is mid-range.
Yeah.
Which for most players is not the case. He's able to put a good amount of power and just let it sweep over through that.
You just let the disc glide down because this is fairly downhill.
As you can see, MJ just kind of throwing it out and let it kind of fade over. He has that little downhill grade to kind of play with. Just playing it kind of smart, play it by the base of the pin. This is on a little bit of an elevated hill, as you can see, and you will get those pop and rolls.
Yeah.
Oh, that dollar making good on that putt there. Needed that one. That's a good mental comeback from the last hole there with the double bogey.
For sure. Silas also getting the birdie. Probably one of the cleanest drives you'll see out of this tournament on any of the cards. Honestly, this hole was played pretty well. I've seen quite a few bogeys, double bogeys, just by people either getting off the tee poorly, missing the mandatory, or going too long. There's actually a big gully ditch down at the bottom that you can kind of get caught up in. It's not out of bounds. It's all casual water.
Not where you want to be.
But not where you want to be.
It's very hard to throw.
Do you suffer from a common yet financially draining condition called I need more discs-itis? Let's talk about the best solution, coming from me, a real doctor. Head over to Dynamic Discs Iron City for an incredible selection of both used and new plastic. With new inventory constantly arriving, you're guaranteed to find that brand new driver to give you an extra 50 feet. You don't have to do this alone. Head over to Dynamic Discs Iron City and join the Iron Throne.
Here we have hole 21. I know we just played 18. We actually didn't play 19 and 20 for the tournament. And this is actually a temporary tee pad for this hole. Wow, that guy putting a great move on that one. Barely goes over to the left. He'll still have an option from there. 700 feet, par 4. There are a couple different options for this. Most people are going to opt to go down the middle. It is very well manicured fairway down here.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's going to shoot right down the middle. There is actually one more gap, which is to go high up on top of the ridge and then play down from there. The only thing you have to worry about is there are some baseball fields a lot further up there. Usually not a typical thing you have to worry about off the tee. But if you miscue your drive, you don't want to be in the middle of those pines. It is jail. And Silas off his drive was actually pretty fortunate to kick out of them and not kick in to the left.
Last year we actually played a tee pad that was actually about 50 feet forward, but played to a longer basket that was way up further to the left. So the distance was actually about the same. They just decided to play this one slightly different this year.
Yeah, they brought the ditch behind it into play this time. You can see right there, there's rock ditch, a little drainage ditch that comes in. So if you land short of the basket, it kind of makes it a choice between, do I run this putt or do I lay up? Because you can fly down in that ditch and it could, issue another elevated putt.
A great second shot from Scott there. He's going to put him in the circle.
You can see a few more people that have finished around coming to spectate a little bit. Oh, Dollar with a good run. Looks like Silas is right next to him.
That's a great birdie from Scott there. That's how you want to finish your round right there.
So here's a little bit of that ditch, that front end of the ditch that's coming in. Looks like it's just going to give Silas just a little bit of awkward footing. It's probably a little slick right there. You can see the longer grass in the background. That area actually holds water, and it rained a few days prior to this. So that area they're not really going to cut out because the bush hogs, the mowers and stuff are going to get caught in that low area. So they kind of made this really defined fairway, and you really want to stay in there. Stay out of the tall grass, stay in the short grass.
That's a great finishing hole for Michael Johansen for his 8 under round. Incredible round there.
Matt Dollar just easily finishing up his par. Yeah, Michael Johansen shooting an 8 under par. It's a pretty good way to start off this tournament.
Definitely. There you have it, folks. That's your first round feature card for the 2021 Magic City Mega Bowl presented by Dynamic Discs. We'll see you for the second round.
Here we have just a little leaderboard recap right now. We have Logan Bowers, Harper Thompson, and Michael Johansen tied for the lead at 8 under.